12th, 2022. I, um, on the, road trip to see my aunt, who's decade 9, with Lewis, who drove me. Lewis being my professional name for him, whatever I call him, and whatever, it's whatever. Um, so while we were there, we were walking at Brookside, looking at the flower gardens, and on top of the pond, there was this layer of pollen. Different. The pollen I have in New York is blowing in the air very vividly in a like chartreuse color, perhaps like the color that's in this room right now. Down there, there was some other pollen that was on the top of the pond. And as we were walking, my aunt, I call Zia, she reminded me, she asked if I remembered the trip to Pennsylvania, which I really didn't at all. I said, I remember going. I remember that my nose was running so profusely. I remember Linda sent me something called a Sudafed to try to stop it, but nothing was stopping it. It was horrible. I was like a leaky faucet. I said, she said, no, she said, we went to this place, in Pennsylvania. It's one of the family names, whether it's whatever and whatever. The area code, though, when I just looked it up, was a hyperbole reference. I thought that was interesting. Then it brought up, I was looking for, because today they made mention, it's Sunday, June 12th, 2022, that there was the National Puerto Rican Day Parade. So I'm like, what is the difference? Because in the local area, there's some Cuban cuisine, and they have a flag that flies, for me, looks very similar to Puerto Rican flag. I know it's different. I know the word pattern's different. And then I looked it up, and it's between two X's. There's an I, so I'm like, well, that's interesting. At how to read Roman numerals, 19th, whatever. And then I read something about a brotherhood and something about Spain, but it was the lazy man's guide to getting oneself confused. In what was on Google. And my aunt reminded me while we were in that garden setting, I being now 4 decade and her being in her 9th decade, Lewis was there in his 7th decade. My great-grandfather, I found out, I was named after Nicole. And she said that I rang the dinner bell. I'm like, I did? I'm like, that doesn't really sound like me, but all right. And so I don't really remember that trip. I don't know why I don't remember that trip. Again, time travel being what it is, even if it's in the same time zone, there's some things that go on in New York that are hard to explain, but are in an RH negative and a time traveler's life type of a way. of I was there, they asked, I'm pretty sure it's how my life goes. Nobody else wanted to do it and make the really big loud sound. And so it was either somebody had to get picked or somebody say, you know what, I'll help out, whatever, in not supposed to turn our backs on one another. So that happened. I find it interesting, though, watching this parade, how the thing that hurt me the most was called Havana Syndrome, which is a town in Cuba. Don't know how that's relatable. And it really happened, and it was really painful in ways that are not easily definable. So this is what Eyewitness News looks like today from New York.
Rain or shine, the National Puerto Rican Day Parade went as planned. In Manhattan, thousands lined Fifth Avenue in celebration of Puerto Rican culture. Floats, dancers, and music packed Midtown for today's celebration. Eyewitness News reporter Kimberly Richardson was on the route and spoke to some of the participants, just happy the parade is back after a long 2-year hiatus.
Rain or shine, I'm here. Rain or shine.
Morning showers did not put a damper on New York City's 65th annual Puerto Rican Day Parade.
This is my first year coming to New York, and I'm just proud. It's my culture.
Filled with rich traditions celebrated by millions of people here in our area. For many who lined Fifth Avenue from 43rd to 79th Streets, this is a must-do. As a little girl, Juliana remembers
The pride of everything. Just screaming our lungs out, screaming que bonita bandera, I'm singing preciosa to the top of my lungs.
That's a language I hear almost, well, actually daily. I walk the boulevard, being Bell Boulevard, and its abbreviate is BLVD in New York, only because it's foot traffic from where I'm living at the moment. And on the loudspeakers on the streets, that version of Te Quiero or Spanish is playing very loud every day. Even though there's a French bistro and other culturally, there's also Colombian, and they play something when you walk by their restaurant. Also in this like Spanish umbrella category of linguistics of a version of Romance language, not the one that I was in as far as the class of whatever, or teachings in education in New York. But I don't hear the other two languages ever spoken, really, on the streets of Bayside. I also hear I hear on in the shops, I hear a lot of Spanish. Different versions of Spanish, might I add. The dialect sounds a little different. Sometimes it's, and then I hear the other people who are out shopping or doing whatever it is that they do and showing up. They speak something more Asiatic, let's call it, because I don't have I don't know what the word is for their version of language. And it's kind of like an all-encompass of a lot of different Asian languages, let's say. People just talking to one another. Very few people speak English on the streets that I walk each day. There are some neighbors that I will speak English with, but so again, just an update from here. I don't know how this Spanish language became so popular all of a sudden, when they definitely taught English as a first and only language in elementary school since I began school here in New York. All the way up from grade school, which is elementary grade school, through middle school, and we had one other language, which, again, it was whatever it was in middle and high school. College, I got to choose a language that was different. I chose whatever I chose, but I don't hear either of those two languages spoken on the streets of New York, for where I'm able to walk by foot without having to take public transportation or drive. If I go into Nassau County a little bit more, I hear a little more, I hear English more in the like village of Port Washington area and so forth. If I go to the mall and things, big gathering areas, again, there's a lot of Spanish being spoken. I don't know how that happened, but it is noteworthy. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. In fact, actually, last night I went to the Italian pizza place, and he spoke Italian, and I was like, that's interesting. Because it had a very, like, Spanish undertone to the Italian. And again, like, lover of languages, I just am very cognizant of different word patterns and things that I hear, different sounds and how they cross over between the whatever and the whatever. Like a collector of things, like antique things, ancient things, whatever. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.